Ready to be confronted with some uncomfortable truth?
I'm about to unpack something that is horrifying. What people call reality, it's all fake. This isn't going to be another YouTube video full of vague fluff. This is not a metaphor. This is reality being replaced layer by layer. There are 6 layers, and you've only seen the first one. Reality used to be grounded in direct experience. You lived through it. But now, reality is mediated. You don't experience events anymore. You experience coverage. Framed interpretations of ideas, avatars, personality.
Told you so. I haven't seen this. I just knew it was going to be a ripper. Turns out it goes exactly well with my video I Know All About You, because I put it there. Go and watch it.
Costumes, personas, and masks. A headline starts replacing understanding. A brand replaces identity. A political label replaces a human being. You're not living inside of reality. You're living inside of a symbolic layer. If symbols become dominant, truth becomes optional, because truth doesn't need to be accurate anymore. It just needs to be repeatable, emotionally charged, recognizable, and socially enforced. That is the simulation.
That is how courts operate too. They're not interested in the truth. They're not. They're interested in whatever you can prove, even if it's false proof, false evidence. It's what you... It used to be based on truth and proving the truth. Now it's based on trying to prove the evidence is false. It's trying to disprove falsehoods. Prove the cops telling lies. You can't, not with a lawyer.
Brands figured this out first, because we don't buy products, we buy a story about ourselves. So that's a word that you hear constantly, brand. And it comes from the old Norse word brandr, and it means to burn. Specifically, it means to burn a permanent mark into livestock, so ownership is obvious and sorting animals out is easy. You are being branded by advertisers, political narratives. The system knows what you're going to react to, what you're going to defend, what you're going to buy, and who you're going to hate. So layer number 1 is mediated reality.
Here's the truth for you. It knows what you're going to hover your cursor over. Yeah, that's my past haunting me. It won't go away, it won't leave me alone. Just like how someone was just sent here to pretend to buy a drum kit. Someone from my past trying to trigger me to get on the gear. Sorry. Can't do that. Why? I don't want to.
This is why the world feels off. It feels theatrical and overacted, scripted, predictable. Because it is. Empires figured this out thousands of years ago. If you control the symbols, you just need to control what people react to. People have to adopt the symbols. Now people are shaped by metrics and algorithms and visibility and approval signals. There's a very secret name for what all these things are, and they are called conditioning signals. Whatever gets rewarded gets repeated. Whatever gets ignored disappears. So people adopt. They simplify themselves, they exaggerate themselves, they flatten their entire personality into something that's shareable. So they become more extreme, more predictable, more performative. So people aren't asking, is this how I feel? They're asking, how will this be received by other people? And over time, something breaks. Because when your external performance doesn't match your internal experience, there is one universal response. We feel hollow.
Yeah.
This is the death of authenticity. Which brings us to layer number 2, human conditioning. Once this is in place, training is what replaces learning. And they do this through algorithmic reinforcement, repeated narratives, emotional escalation, social punishment, visibility rewards. Information has to change shape because information creates understanding. So the system replaces information with content. And this brings us to layer 3, the collapse of information. So what's the difference between information and content?
Allow me to retort before he does. I've not seen it. Right, let's look at it from intel versus gossip. Intel, verifiable intelligence that can be verified in 2 or more places as fact and is useful. If it's not useful, it's just gossip or white noise. Everyone's drowning in white noise. Overstimulation of content. And at the end of the day, what can you do about it? What effect is it having on you and what effect are you having on it? You're going to go protest? Dumb. You really want to make an effect? Stay at home. With purpose. Stop feeding the machine. The machine relies on your engagement. Let's see what Chase has to say.
Information answers questions and content stimulates responses. Most of what fills your feed is not meant to be important. It is meant to occupy attention, trigger emotion, maintain your engagement, and prevent silence from entering your life. Because silence is where thinking happens. This is why everything feels urgent. You feel engaged. You feel aware. You feel more mature. But nothing ever resolves because resolution ends the engagement cycle. It's designed to make you feel like you're participating in it. Which brings us to layer number 4, fear and identity control. Humans evolved to survive in small groups where exclusion meant death. That wiring has never changed. Belonging used to come from family and tribe and shared work with other people. But now it comes from follower counts and group identities and digital approval. So,
great little experiment. You go to a party launch, digital approval is now analog approval. Everyone, form a group and write your main concerns on a piece of paper. And adults, little groups, like little kids in classrooms, you know, man, you be my friend. I'm sitting in the back up, what the fuck? Grown adults acting like little kids in the school, in the classroom. Something said, 2 people with orange t-shirts. And everyone, is anybody capable of authentic critical thought of their own? Are you clapping just because everyone else is? That's the difference between a sheep and a divergent. I'm divergent. My emotions only get triggered when kids get hurt. when the innocents suffer. Then I get fucking wild. Which is why they don't want me to talk in court. Sorry, I just want to tell the truth. That's all I want to do. It's funny. And whenever I'm going to go to court, a day or two prior to that, they'll send a drug dealer or someone around. Someone just came to my house and said, "You want to buy a drum kit?" Someone I know from my past. No, and he knows I don't want to. That's not why he was here. He was here to tell me that Andrew Charles got busted with half a kilo of crack. Okay, so? I don't want to talk about drugs with you. Sorry, it's not working. Wait, you want to find out who the culprit is? Yourself, you fucking idiot!
Conformity is enforced with social threat. You're quietly warned and you're shown that not reacting might be suspicious. Questioning the frame is dangerous. So people react publicly. Why? Fear of ostracism. The fear of being labeled, being seen as one of them. It's constant in the background of everything. And that is not accidental. And obviously, social media didn't invent fear, but it multiplied it by orders of magnitude. And here's why. Fear scales engagement better than any other emotion. It speeds reaction. It reduces nuance. It increases sharing, and it locks your memory in place. So the system learns. It tracks what spikes your heart rate, what makes you comment, what makes you argue, what makes you pissed off, and it feeds you more of that shit. Every post is a potential punishment that we're dealing with. Hate, panic, fear, and anger become advertising products. The longer you stay emotionally activated, the more valuable you become in real dollars. Fear has to be sustained. A stable identity does something dangerous. It resists manipulation, but the system is very clever. You are kept in a constant state of moral emergency. Every week there's a new crisis, a new outrage, some new villain that's prepackaged for you, a new law being passed, a new law.
It's drowning us in chaff. And somewhere in there is the wheat. The actual useful grain that we make bread out of. The chaff is the husk from the outside of the wheat grain. We're drowning in it. Separating the wheat from the chaff is very difficult. It's all white noise. You have to reverse engineer that and see what it's connected to. Everyone's worrying about the power bill going up because of Marinus, not seeing what it's connected to. Lockheed Martin. The knee bone's connected to the leg bone. The leg bone's connected to the ankle bone. Right? Lockheed Martin's connected to Palantir and Oracle. It's connected to the Silicon Valley tech bros. Wait till you all find out that the Epstein files is a load of shit created by Israel. Yeah, you're going to love that one.
Line that you're expected to know. It creates what looks like clarity, but it isn't. Something detonates emotionally, then it's immediately buried by the next thing. That's identity fragmentation. When people don't have time to form their values slowly, they accept a prepackaged moral frame. These are ready-made positions. Approved language, approved emotions, approved enemies. Morality stops being something that we develop, and it becomes something that we display. Signaling replaces moral reasoning. Virtue becomes a lapel pin. Ethics become performative. Belief becomes a freaking costume. And once morality is externalized like that, it's easy to control because it's a simulation. It's fake. It can be updated remotely. You can see it in how fast people switch positions. And it's not because they learned some new information, it's just because the frame got changed. And here's the most unsettling part, as if the other ones weren't. People start to feel relief when morality is handed to them because it removes responsibility. They don't have to think, they just have to align. And alignment feels safe when fear is everywhere. If identity and morality are programmable, division of human beings becomes super easy. And that all comes down to one huge manipulation tool. This is layer number 5, narrative warfare. So modern news is not here to report on reality. It's designed to completely and totally construct narrative frames. It decides who's a victim, who's a villain, who's righteous, and what questions are allowed. The facts are completely optional. So here's the mechanism. An event happens, immediately the story arrives fully formed, and you're told how to feel, who to blame, what it means, and which side you're on. And all this happens before you have time to think. Facts don't radicalize people. Narratives do that, because narratives come with heroes and enemies and moral certainty and urgency and full-blown permission to hate people. One detail gets amplified, another gets buried, context gets removed until complexity
Muslims are taking our jobs. Muslims are going to cut our heads off. Muslims don't let girls go to school. There's 3 bullshits there. Muslims want to take over the world. Again, another fallacy. Muslims are creating a housing crisis. No, we have a homelessness problem, not a housing crisis. And if you fight against the Muslims, suddenly you're a moral person. We've been doing it for decades. They haven't attacked us yet. But Israel, on the other hand, they're attacking us. They're attacking our mind.
completely disappears. Nuance is always the first casualty here, because nuance slows reaction time, and reaction is the product. This is how deliberate demonization works. You don't argue with the other side, you just dehumanize them. They're not human. This is where the left versus right illusion becomes very useful to them. It's audience segmentation. It's two simplified tribes, two emotional markets, two predictable reaction sets. Because while people are fighting each other, nothing upstream is ever examined. This is why wins are celebrated by all these politicians. Even when nothing changes, they're celebrating wins all the time. All these headlines and viral clips give us this placebo of things taking place, things are happening. And once people are emotionally invested in these narratives, they will defend those narratives even when the narratives hurt them, because abandoning the story means abandoning the identity. Once narratives are doing the work, politics don't need to govern anymore. The only thing that politics has to do is perform, which brings us to layer number 6. This is the theater of power. Modern politics is not a system for solving problems, and I think you would agree. It is a stage with roles and costumes and very predictable conflict arcs. Visibility, alignment, signaling,
Go back. Let's come back to Australia, shall we?
and costumes and very predictable conflict
Paul Keating.
arcs.
Malcolm Turnbull.
Visibility,
Central casting.
alignment,
Central casting. It was busted. It was in The Guardian. Malcolm Turnbull got busted using central casting to boost crowds to make his polling look good. He manipulated an election.
signaling, performative outrage, and symbolic gestures.
Eh?
This is why hearings that we see on TV all the time, they look dramatic, they accomplish
perception.
jack shit. This is why...
That was the perception of popularity. The perception of making you believe that he's a good man. Because look at how he loves these kids and how they respond to him.
My speeches feel emotional and change nothing. This is why scandals cycle endlessly through the news with no consequence. Seriously, where are all the Epstein criminals going to jail? If politics were about results, it wouldn't need an audience. This is why the same behaviors repeat. That's why corruption has become background noise in politics. That's why people say, nothing surprises me anymore. That numbness, some people think it's apathy. It's not. It's conditioning. Right and wrong.
We have now normalised the biases. Normalcy bias.
Are replaced with team loyalty. So people aren't asking, is this right? They're asking, is this our side? This is where left versus right becomes useful again. Two sides, two very predictable emotional responses, endless conflict with no resolution. While all these people are arguing over symbols, the actual sources of instability remain completely untouched. Politics is a distraction machine. It's a constant stream of drama that absorbs it.
You know how well it works? Full-blown junkies rocking up to roll their sleeves up to get a COVID shot. Drug dealers. Oh no, COVID is going to kill us all. What, really? You're worried about your health? You're really that worried about your health? Because the government told you to get a shot. Because the police are enforcing you to get a shot. But then you go and buy something or someone you don't know and stick it straight into your vein.
And releases nothing of value. So let me say this super plainly in a way that maybe will make perfect sense. Most political content exists to keep you emotionally occupied, not materially informed. The goal is not progress. You know what the goal is? Engagement. Once politics is theater, events themselves become props. Most people think manipulation means lying. It does not. The most effective manipulation leaves the facts intact and controls how those facts are experienced. An event happens, and before anybody can orient to it, what shows up? The frame arrives immediately. So they tell you what the event means, why it matters, who the enemy is, what emotion you're supposed to feel, and which conclusions you are supposed to adopt. This is before you've even touched.
You notice Chase is showing us all Australian Parliament House, all Australian politicians in this clip. He is ex-CIA, he does write books, and he had an acquired brain injury. When I say an acquired brain injury, he had a tumour, had it removed. And it altered his persona. and he's always been an examiner of patterns. There's something about us pattern people. There's all kinds of pattern recognisers.
Touch the real event itself. This is how current events are absolutely engineered. It is 100% not at the level of reality. It's at the level of interpretation. It's dumbed down because they think you are a moron, because complexity doesn't mobilize anybody. Simplicity does. And once framing is centralized, people will defend the interpretation like they witnessed the event themselves, because emotionally they did. This creates a dangerous illusion. People feel like participants when they're actually spectators. They feel informed when they've only been pointed in a direction. They feel certain when they've been guided. And whoever controls the stories controls the responses. So once events are framed, once politics is theater and identity is unstable, story becomes the final weapon. Humans don't understand the world through facts alone. They understand it through mythic structure. That wiring is ancient. It predates language, and it's incredibly easy to hijack. This is where the global hero's journey comes in. Every major narrative that you're fed now follows the exact same template, I guarantee you. The hero becomes your side. The villain becomes the other side. The victim becomes the justification. Once those roles get assigned, logic is not required anymore, because archetypes bypass human reasoning. And once stories take over, morality becomes symbolic. It turns into symbols and slogans and flags and hashtags and profile frames on social media. Virtue's not something you do, it's something you deploy now. That's why morality starts to look like stickers, because stickers are visible. And what's the currency of this simulation that we are in right now? It's visibility. When morality...
This is one of the big things I'm trying to point out. Police, you are not moral. You are group thinking. You are being captured. Logic has gone out the window. You are surrounded by people that think exactly the same thing as you. They're doing it, so it must be right. Bah. Hard to swallow, isn't it? Why do I see it? Only child, broken home, Catholic primary school, staunch Catholic, Reese High School in the 80s. A run-amok school. When I say run-amok, there was still a lot of discipline. I still had the cane. I got it quite a lot. Always got the cane after defending myself. I've spent my entire life standing on the outside observing. It's hard to watch.
It becomes symbolic. It stops being moral. It's just a performance. This is why people are going to defend a story even when the story contradicts reality. Stories don't need to be true. They just need to make you feel like a good person. And there's only 4 things they need to give people: a role, a purpose, an enemy, and relief from uncertainty. And once you see this layer, everything below it snaps into focus. The media, the politics, the fear, the division, the identity weapon, they are not separate layers of manipulation. And story is the oldest control system that we have. A symbolic layer replacing reality. Simulated people adapting to narratives and incentives. Nothing here requires conspiracy, just incentives. Seeing the simulation doesn't make you superior. It doesn't make you enlightened. It doesn't make you immune to everything. It gives you some orientation. You stop reacting on cue. You stop mistaking symbols for substance. And you don't need to convince anybody. You don't need to expose anything. You don't need to fight against the stage or rage against the machine. Once you see the machinery, the manipulation stops working the same way. The performance feels super obvious, and something weird happens. The world doesn't feel fake anymore. It feels like it's covered with a layer of something. And reality was always there, under the noise, under the fake symbols. This was unsettling. You may need to go back through it and take some notes. I spent a month writing this for you, and you can see the stage now. And maybe that's enough. This video will wake up enough people that we can shift back to reality a little bit. And I hope you like this one. Next week, we're releasing a video that's going to expose a lot more. So if you're subscribed, you're going to see it when it comes out. Thank you for spending some time with me. I appreciate your trusting me with your time. The link in the description down below is going to get you started on your journey toward training with me and working with me one-on-one if you're looking for that. And I'll see you in the next one. Love you.
I feel like reaching out to Chase. Even I get reactionary sometimes. You seen me cry the other night. I'm not scared to show it. I'm not scared to show an honest, raw emotion to anybody. Why? I'm trying to show you that you don't have to be numb to things. You shouldn't be normalising the bombing of a school. I was talking to one of the bus drivers. He goes, "Yeah, but you know, it depends on." Sorry, mate, pull you up right there. There is no depends on. What he said was, depends on what they're hiding in the school or under the school. Okay. So let's do it at night then, shall we? When there's no one there. Blow up the facility, not the kids. There's just no justification for blowing up school kids, ever, period. The kids are being used as a shield. What do you call an acceptable loss? Tell that to their mother. Tell that to their mothers and fathers. Tell that to anyone who's born somewhere else, also programmed with a different ideology, when we're all just people. We all want the same thing, to live in peace. A fair go. Pauline, you talk about a fair go. Well, what fair go is it? That people can't get honest representation in a court? What fair go is it that it's a certain demographic of people to blame for your fuck-ups? For government's fuck-ups. You're part of government. If you want to generalise and blanket encapsulate an entirety of a demographic, well, don't complain when it's done to you. It's just basic core values of logic. Ethical core values. If you're going to blanket encapsulate people with generalisations, don't act surprised when they do it back. I'm actually throwing you a bony. Get out from under the boot.